Okay, 2016 was a bittersweet for Taekwondo. Now let's talk about 2017. What's going to happen this year? First, we have the World Championship coming up in June, and that's the big one that they want to attend. But there's so many other things that happened, you know, why some federation can't even go for some of the championships they really want to funding. Now, when it comes to budget, you know, I remember some federation presidents actually talking about the fact that they haven't received subvention since June. Is yours different?
I don't think any federation has received any subvention since we took office in 2013.
Okay. Okay, those ones I even received up to June last year were lucky.
I don't even know. I mean, if somebody received, then that is unfair to us. What we understand was that subventions were not going to be given to any federation. We should survive, and we have been surviving. The only time we go to the ministry is when the event is too big, and it's an international event, and we believe that we must participate. We don't want to be sanctioned, and we go. And usually we go once a year. That's all. We only go once and say, look, this is the big one. Forget about all the small ones. I'll give you an example. A couple of weeks ago, a young man went to the World Taekwondo Federation President's Cup and won gold medal. It was not sponsored by anybody. And we didn't go to anybody, and that's a major event.
Okay, now usually there's a budget for sports every year. We have it, we hear it from the president. What usually happens to such budget?
Well, I'm not in the ministry, I can't tell. All I know is that monies like subventions, running costs don't get to the federations. I don't know whether it was budgeted for. But there's also a generally known issue in budget in the country, is budget performance. It's one thing for you to say you are allocating 75 billion to sports, but in actual release of funds, maybe the finance ministry or whoever is in charge maybe provides only a quarter. And that's usually what we hear. We hear that, look, we don't have the cash to back what was approved. And once you don't have the cash, then you have to go around and look for it. So now imagine if you had planned 10 series of activities to produce an Olympic gold medalist, and you can only fund 2 of it. What happens to the remaining 8? And then you now go and meet Chevron. Chevron says, oh, we don't plan for you because you didn't bring your budget the year before. You know, you go and meet Nestle, and Nestle says, sorry, we have a policy of not supporting combat sports. So you can see that we have a structure, a systemic problem that it's going to continually lead to the debacle of London, and then, of course, Rio, and even Tokyo. So we need to get back again, and maybe all the presidents or the Nigerian Olympic Committee has to come back and say, look, this is the only thing that works. The only thing that works is January to March, the funding for activities, let it be given bulk. And that's what they should take to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And if the President doesn't think it's a priority, fine, then they can spend the money on Boko Haram. Because if you don't spend the money on promotion of sport, you're going to have to spend it on security. It's the same age group. It's the same young men that are, if they don't have sports, they run to something else. And I keep saying, it's a CSR of the federal government. It's not one of those things to say we don't have money for. You have to. You have to. You have to. That's what keeps other countries safe. Why is President Putin personally speaking out concerning the doping issue? Why is he not looking at it as if it's an athletic issue, is not concerning? He understands the importance to the country. So I don't think that we should play anymore or play politics with sports management administration. If we want to get Tokyo right, this time around, let's be honest with ourselves. Let's get the funding in place. The only thing we need is to make sure that there's a lot of a sense of accountability. You know, who manages what, and once that is in place, let's get. And if there is none, let everybody know well in advance. We won't be able to fund this. We won't be able to fund that. We will fund this one. Then you will know your situation. Not that you send in proposals and then the money doesn't come from finance ministry or doesn't come from one party or the other, and then you are stuck. So those are the real legitimate issues presidents are experiencing. That they take their budget, even the ministry itself is not funded, from what we understand, enough to carry out its own budget. So it's a systemic, it's a structural issue. So
basically, I mean, the summary of what you're saying is it appears the political will for sports to thrive in the country is not available.
Yeah, yes. By what I'm saying, I'm speaking to the National Assembly. I'm indirectly speaking directly to the people who have the ability and the power to make laws to ensure things are done, and then at the end of the year come back and say, let me see what you have done. Because at the level of the ministry, they are just a part, they are the executive part of government. They don't make the laws. They implement what you provide for them. So I'm trying to ensure that the National Assembly leaders, the Senate Sports Committee, the House of Reps Sports Committee, they are looking at, look, okay, let's find a way to create a special Olympic fund, a special All Africa Games fund that doesn't enter the annual budget. Because once it becomes annual budget, then everything has to be planned annually. Olympic cannot be planned annually. It has to be planned like a macro. You've got to know now what you're going to do in 2018. And you've got to know the money for it is already existing or approved now. Then you can begin to plan and know that there's going to be a synergy between, one event to the next event to the next event to the next event. But when you do, you only plan for 2017. Then you wait again 2018. Then you start all over again.
It's not good enough. Not good enough, obviously. I mean, you've talked about the elite taekwondoists. They'll be going to the World Championship, hopefully, in June next year, in June 2017. What about grassroots taekwondo? What is it going to be like for up-and-coming taekwondo athletes?
The good thing about taekwondo is that it's one of the most proactive sports federations in this country. There is almost no month. I mean, as I'm talking to you now, there's going to be Calabar Opens in 2 weeks' time. Okay. Tournament in Calabar. There's going to be another tournament in Kano. Okay. The new guys approached us to do a special invitational tournament for them. There's going to be an invitational tournament sometime below the year. The Korean Ambassador Cup is going to come. There will be so many tournaments, so many seminars, programs. We're always quietly working. So that's the only time we cry is when we now say, okay, just give us milk. Because, mommy, give us milk. Mommy says milk has finished. So we have a lot of activities and programs for referee development, for coaching development, for athletes to have the opportunities to be exposed. We're encouraging them to travel internationally. We're trying to promote para-taekwondo simultaneously. I'm very passionate about para-taekwondo. I think that category of Nigerians need their own spot of glory. Okay. Ever since I led the gentleman who went to the World Championship in Moscow 2 years ago, I've had a personal interest in para-taekwondo. So let's pray that all of this will come to 2020 for great blessings for this country.
Okay. Obviously, that'll be our prayer. Well, President George Ashiru, thank you so much for taking our time to talk to us this morning.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Well, Chinasa Boyen will be joining us after this break. Stay with us.